You know, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. There's a kind of progress that doesn't feel like progress at all. And I think that's the part that confuses people the most. Because we're used to seeing progress as something obvious, something visible, something you can point at and say, yeah, it's working. But most of the time, it doesn't look like that. It looks like waking up tired, not completely exhausted, but just enough that everything feels heavier than it should. And you're there, sitting, thinking, do I really have it in me today? And sometimes the answer is, not really. Not in the way you'd like. Not with energy, not with motivation. Not with that sharp, focused mindset. But then, you still do something. Maybe you sit down for a bit. Maybe you write a few lines. Maybe you move forward just slightly. Not impressive, not something you'd post, not something you'd even talk about. And that's the strange part. Those moments feel insignificant, almost like they don't count. But I'm starting to realize that's actually where most of the real progress happens. Not in the big days, not when everything aligns, not when you feel unstoppable and everything flows. Because those days are rare, and if you rely on them, you end up waiting more than you're moving. The real progress happens in the quiet phase, the phase where nothing around you has changed yet. No results, no feedback, no confirmation that what you're doing is working. Just you and the process. And I think that's where a lot of people stop. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't care, but because it feels like nothing is happening. You can't see it. You can't measure it yet. You can't prove it to yourself. And I've been there, working on something, putting in effort, trying to stay consistent, and still feeling like I'm standing in the same place. But what I didn't see at the time was that things were changing, just not externally. Your discipline starts shifting. You become a bit more patient. You tolerate discomfort a little better. You stop needing everything to feel right before you act. And those changes are subtle. So subtle that you almost miss them. But over time, they build something. Not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily. And I think this is where we get it wrong. We expect progress to feel good. We expect it to feel rewarding. We expect it to look like we're moving forward. But a lot of the time, it just feels like repetition. Doing the same thing again, even when you're not sure if it's making a difference. And that's uncomfortable, because there's no guarantee. But maybe that's the point. Maybe real progress isn't about certainty. Maybe it's about continuing without it. Continuing when the results are delayed. Continuing when the motivation isn't there. Continuing when the effort feels small. I've started to see those days differently now. The quiet ones, the average ones, the ones that feel like nothing. Because those are the days that build the foundation. Not the days where everything goes right, but the days where you almost stop and don't. That moment matters more than it looks. So maybe progress isn't something you always see. Maybe it's something you build quietly, in the background, without needing it to be visible yet. Not every day needs to be powerful. Not every step needs to be big. Some days are just about not stopping. Because in the end, the strongest version of you is built in silence.